That warehouse probably started right about here and went all the way down to the corner, kind of where this fence stops. And where that utility pole is, right about there, there was a gas street lamp. Now think about that, in 1920, having gas street lamps. So this was a pretty nice street to live on. It's a pretty nice place to have a business. You know, what do they say, the three most important things in retail is location and location and location. Well, if you wanted anything in and out of Osage County, you went to the railroad agent, and his office was right behind my granddad's. My name is James Allen. I am the owner, the proprietor of Allen Brothers Feed and Supply, LLC. We're an ag supply company. That's kind of the general idea, but we also have a lot of people that are just town folks, people that do lawn and garden work, people that have dogs, pets. We also sell products to the ranches in the county, and whatever else it takes to make a living. This business was started in late fall of 1919 by my grandfather, James B. Allen. In the baseball world, he was known as Lefty Allen.
I'm Joe Allen, the oldest one of this two. I'm Dick Allen, the youngest son of Jim Allen that started this business here. He grew up in a small town of St. Paul, Arkansas, on the head of the White River. The industry there was making ties for the railroad industry, and those mountains were covered with oak trees. Dad's brothers were involved in the sawmill, and that sawmill was the industry in town there, and they had their own baseball team. In that picture, there's 9 men. And Dad was one of them. 8 men and a boy, really, because he looks like he's 13, 14 years old. And he was the pitcher.
That was his start in baseball?
That was his start in baseball, yeah. He loved the game. He really loved the game, and I think he enjoyed the travel and going from city to city. They traveled, I think, back in that day and time by train, and he had a tremendous amount of break on a fastball. I mean, it was just natural. That was his forte when he was playing, was that he overpowered hitters.
I think there was
That's right.
5 or 6 young men from St. Paul, Arkansas, and they went to Camp Robinson, which is down by Little Rock, and enlisted in the Army.
Yeah.
He was with the Yankee division and ended up in France. His communications unit apparently just kept getting moving closer and closer to the front. Then eventually the armistice was declared, and they turned him around and put him back on a troop ship and sent him home.
After World War I, through the 1920s, Pawhuska was, a booming metropolis. So you had big ranchers here. They were raising Hereford cattle that they would show all across the country. There was dairies here. There were hog farms, and this was horse country. They had a lot of race horses. There was a polo field here at one time. There was just so much going on with the oil business, the oil boom.
Well, he got out of the Army in 1919, And when they came back to the States, and he started this business in November. And I think at the urging of his brother over at Oshaleta.
But right through here, this sidewalk is a really wide commercial sidewalk. And it goes all the way up here to where the rail agent was. When you get right about here, there was a railroad spur that ran right through here, and which was right behind the building. And it was up high enough so you could wheel off the railroad cars into the warehouse. That was a pretty hopping corner. The best way to get things in and out of the county was on a railroad. So he had a lot of traffic coming and going past the front door. This is a Western Union telegram. This one comes from Brooklyn, New York. Typed in C.H. Ebbets. So this is kind of the beginning of contract negotiations. James Allen, ball player, Pawhuska, Oklahoma. What salary would you like to play with Brooklyn if we can secure your release? Are you in condition? When can you report here? Answer promptly or expense. Kind of sounds like Mr. Ebbets needs a lefty in the rotation. Okay, from C.H. Ebbets, James B. Allen, Pawhuska, Oklahoma. We'll pay you $450 per month, commencing with date you are in condition to play. All right, that's May 2nd. May 3rd, terms accepted, namely $600 per month, commencing on date when you are in condition to play. Purchase your transportation, will reimburse you upon arrival, and advise me when you will report here.
But he was in contract negotiations, or at least talking with Charles Ebbets
Yeah.
from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But he didn't go.
No.
Why not?
Well, Linda Allen for one reason,
Yes.
and another reason is the business was going well. The season had already started, and they wanted him to come up there and get in shape to pitch. And when he was in shape to pitch, then they'd start paying him. And he didn't go for that.
I think the big reason was our mother. I think she had a whole lot to say about whose contract he was going to sign. He had a contract with her as far as she was concerned.
I don't remember him talking about it. I really don't. I don't think he was particularly disappointed because he'd been in baseball for, I think 13 years.
Right now, I think about where Daddy Jim was. What it took for a young man to come to Pawhuska, Oklahoma and start off on his own. Saved up his money from playing baseball.
There probably wasn't many people in Pawhuska that had as many friends as Dad had.
He had a real good personality. People really liked him. He was just as honest as he could be, and there was no pretension about him. He had no, well, what would you call it, ego at all about him. Yeah, he was a man of character.
It makes you feel good that you have a first, second, and third generation who's still able to be here and still being able to do what they started out to do. You know, if they weren't good people, they wouldn't still be in business. So obviously, you know, they're the best.
Well, there's very few businesses in Oklahoma that have been continuously operated by the same family for 100 years and remained successful all through those years.
What would you want the Allen family legacy to be?
I'd like we had a good name, good reputation, that we were contributors rather than takers.
That people still respected us and that we were honorable in our service to the community, and we did things as the Lord would have us do, and the way we treated our customers and our friends.
Are you going to tell the rest of the story?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you
No, I'm not.
wasn't there.
Do you want me that on tape?
Well, he can edit it.
Well, this, I think they called him a blockman or the representative of International. Dad always brought all the salesmen home, and many of them knew that my mother was a great cook, and they all were pretty anxious to be invited up there. And it was in the wintertime, and he was trying to sell Dad on this idea of a new building. And I always begged my mother to let the dogs in the house, especially in the wintertime, and they were cold. And anyhow, I was a little kid, and the two dogs was laying in front of the fireplace. And the salesman and Dad were there after supper, still debating this move. And this old bird dog jumped up and yelped and took off for the door. And the salesman jumped up and said, "What's the matter with that dog?" And I, in all my innocence, said, "Somebody farted." And that ended the conversation about the new building. The salesman left.
hurriedly. The dog would get swatted when it did that. Oh, well. Yeah, like I said, you can edit that if you want to. But